Breaking news tonight, a Malaysia Airlines flight with 239 people on board, including 4 Americans, has gone missing.
10 years have passed since Malaysia Airlines MH370 disappeared without a trace, leaving deep sorrow for the families and loved ones of the 239 passengers and crew members. This event has become one of the greatest mysteries in aviation history, puzzling the world with unanswered questions. Where did MH370 go? Imagine, Malaysia Airlines MH370 vanished as if swallowed by the earth. Radar lost its track, communications ceased, and there were no signs of a crash. Only a haunting silence ensued, creating fear, confusion, and despair among the victims. The MH370 flight itself used a Boeing 777-2H6ER aircraft with a serial number 28420 and registration 9MMRO. This aircraft was the 404th Boeing 777 produced. Its maiden flight took place on May 14, 2002, and it was delivered to Malaysia Airlines on May 31, 2002. Powered by 2 Rolls-Royce Trent 892 engines, the aircraft was designed to accommodate up to 282 passengers. During its last maintenance and inspection on February 23, 2014, the aircraft complied with all applicable airworthiness directives for the airframe and engines. Crew oxygen system replenishment was conducted 1 day prior to its final flight. Inspection of this procedure found nothing suspicious. The disappearance of Malaysia Airlines MH370 also marked its final flight. This incident occurred on March 8, 2014, when the aircraft was scheduled to travel from Kuala Lumpur International Airport, Malaysia, to Beijing Capital International Airport, China. On this flight, MH370 carried a total of 239 people, consisting of 227 passengers and 12 aircraft crew members. The aircraft was also scheduled to depart at 9:35 local time and arrived at 6 local time. The planned flight duration was 5 hours and 34 minutes, estimated to consume 37,200 kilograms of jet fuel. The aircraft also carried 49,100 kilograms of reserve fuel, allowing it to sustain for 7 hours and 31 minutes. MH370 was reported to have taken off from runway 32R at 0042 local time and was cleared by Air Traffic Control or ATC to climb to flight level 180 or approximately 5,500 meters. Voice analysis determined that the first officer communicated with ATC while the aircraft was still on the ground, and the captain communicated back with ATC after takeoff. Shortly after, the flight was transferred from the airport ATC to Lumpur Radar, Air Traffic Control. The radar assigned MH370 to flight level 350, approximately 10,700 meters. At 0101, the MH370 flight crew reported to Lumpur Radar that they have reached flight level 350, which was confirmed again at 0108. The last communication made by the MH370 flight crew was an automatic position report at 0106. Lumpur Radar conveyed a message to the MH370 crew: Malaysia 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9, good night, which was then replied by the MH370 crew: Good night, Malaysia 370. Malaysia 370, Malaysia 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9, good night, Malaysia 370. According to the message, the crew was expected to signal to ATC in Ho Chi Minh City as the aircraft passed through Vietnamese airspace, but contact with the MH370 crew began to be lost. Another aircraft captain attempted to contact the MH370 crew shortly after 0130 using the International Air Distress Frequency. This was to convey a request for Vietnamese air traffic control to have the aircraft contact them. The captain said he could establish communication, but only heard mumbling and static. Approximately 38 minutes after takeoff, communication between the MH370 crew and the ATC was lost while the aircraft was flying over the South China Sea. MH370 was reported missing from the secondary surveillance radar screen of ATC a few minutes later, but was tracked by the Malaysian military's primary radar system for the next hour. From the Malaysian military's primary radar, the aircraft was tracked deviating westward from its planned flight path, then crossing the Malay Peninsula and the Andaman Sea. MH370 continued to veer off course, leaving the radar coverage 200 nautical miles or about 370 kilometers northwest of Penang Island, off the northwest coast of peninsular Malaysia. After attempting to search for signals, radar, and trying to communicate with the MH370 aircraft crew, but still not receive any response from the crew, it was realized that MH370 had deviated from its planned route and disappeared from the radar. The government began efforts to search for the aircraft. Search and rescue efforts were also launched in Southeast Asia immediately after MH370 disappeared. Initially, the MH370 search focused only on the South China Sea and the Andaman Sea, in line with the aircraft's last known point. However, new analysis of aircraft automatic data with the Inmarsat satellite indicated that the aircraft had traveled far southward across the southern Indian Ocean. Therefore, the search was expanded to the Indian Ocean. The lack of official information for several days after the aircraft disappeared triggered harsh criticism from the Chinese public, especially from the relatives of the passengers. This was because the majority of the passengers on MH370 were Chinese nationals, totaling 153 out of 239 people aboard. Multinational search efforts were deployed, which then became the most expensive search operation in aviation history. Australia took over the search responsibility on March 17th, when search efforts began to reach the southern part of the Indian Ocean. On March 24th, the Malaysian government noted that the final location determined by satellite communications was far from any landing possibilities. This concluded that MH370's flight ended in the southern Indian Ocean. Search operations continued for 3 years. By January 2017, comprehensive surveys of the seabed covering an area of 120,000 square kilometers southwest of Perth, Western Australia, yielded no evidence of MH370's presence. However, on July 29, 2015, several pieces of marine debris were found on islands in the Indian Ocean and off the coast of Africa, suspected to be fragments of MH370. With the disappearance of MH370, all 227 passengers and 12 crew members were presumed to have perished. To this day, a decade has passed since MH370 vanished without a known cause. The mystery of its disappearance poses a significant question mark for the international aviation community. Consequently, numerous theories have emerged to explain why this giant aircraft could disappear from radar. Speculations about the cause of MH370's disappearance range from murder or suicide by the pilot, the flight being a mere flight simulator run by a pilot attempting to fly south to the southern Indian Ocean, electrical malfunctions on the aircraft, involvement of passengers believed to be asylum seekers and potentially conducting terrorist operations on board, suspicious cargo in the aircraft's baggage hold, to unresponsive crew or hypoxia events. The incident involving the disappearance of Malaysia Airlines aircraft led to a decline in ticket sales 1 month after the aircraft disappeared. This was likely due to the suspension of the airline's advertising campaigns following the aircraft's disappearance. However, Malaysia Airlines CEO Ahmad Zaharie stated that the airline's primary focus was on attending to the emotional and financial needs of the families and relatives of the victims. Therefore, Malaysia Airlines took responsibility for providing compensation to the closest relatives of MH370 passengers. However, in early March 2024, retired British aerospace engineer Richard Godfrey brought some hope by stating that he attempted to trace the whereabouts of MH370 using weak signal propagation reporter, or WSPR data. Godfrey believed that the missing aircraft was located 3,000 to 4,000 meters below the Indian Ocean, precisely 1,500 kilometers off the coast of Perth, Western Australia. He also added that his findings were consistent with other clues. For example, data from Inmarsat indicating nearly the same location. He believed that the aircraft could be found soon. However, as of now, there has been no official statement from Malaysia Airlines or the Malaysian government. Hopefully, there will soon be good news regarding the mystery of the disappearance of MH370.